Heyo, welcome to another broadcast. Oh, headphones, water. Join me. We're watching the election results, election 2022 midterms. So the red wave hasn't manifested, although Florida and Beto. Beto's been called by Fox News, not MSNBC yet, but not promising. But let's talk about Dem wins for the evening. So the governor of New York will continue to be a Democrat. Yay. What else have we got? Let's have a look at my favorite Twitter accounts. So John Fetterman is doing well. John Fetterman is leading by 16% in Lackawanna County with 92% counted so far. And this was a Biden plus 8 seat. So Fetterman improving on the margins that Biden won Lackawanna County in Pennsylvania. So the race isn't over yet, but Fetterman's in a better position. And Fetterman has been improving over Biden's margins apparently in many counties. What else? Carrie Lake, the election denialist, wackadoodle lady with good camera skills, with poise from her experience as a local news anchor, and good eye contact when talking to journalists. That bitch is in trouble, which is good. Hopefully she stays in trouble because she's an extremist, and conditions for people in Arizona would be significantly worse under her governorship and may still be worse. I feel really sorry for the Democrats in Florida who don't deserve Ron DeSantis practicing to be as Trumpy as he can possibly be, even though he will not win in a primary Republican campaign against Trump while Trump is alive. Even if he's indicted, Trump can still run as the Republican candidate and he'll win the primary. I don't necessarily think Trump would win an election because people who aren't in the cult are fervently opposed to him. So Trump has a very energizing effect on the rest of the electorate who aren't dyed-in-the-wool Republicans. When we fight, we win. When we vote, we win. Democrats outnumber Republicans, but Democrats are also susceptible and have a degree of susceptibility to mythology around Republicans that they protect children, which is converse to the truth. Democrats endanger your children by increasing the proliferation of guns and blocking common sense gun safety laws. They claim to be protecting your children from the made-up threats posed by drag queens. And they claim to offer solutions of parent choice, where that's really code for defunding public schools in favor of giving your taxpayer dollars to private schools who won't be bound by federal law rulings against segregation. So private schools will be able to segregate their students if they want, to refuse enrollment from students of color and perpetuate very regressive policies from the worst parts of America's past. I'm going to switch now to Maricopa County, which is an Arizona county that voted for Democrats in the 2020 election, had a high Biden win rate. And of course, Republicans complained a lot about it. They'll be complaining a lot today. They lost a court challenge. A judge said, no, you can't have extended hours in Maricopa County. There's no evidence that there was any problems with machines. Like, sure, Charlie Kirk has tweeted about it, but he's making shit up. There have been no problems, and there is no evidence of problems. Just some coached Republican voters saying, well, it wasn't fair for me, but no actual data, no hard evidence that there were any machines down or any problems with the voting machines in Maricopa County. Kathy Hochul has won re-election as governor of New York. Hooray. Marcy Kaptur's ahead 57 to 42 with 52% reporting. That result seems likely to stick because her Republican opponent had a stolen valor thing happening where he said he was deployed to Afghanistan, but really he never saw action, and he was like was he a janitor or something? He was in a non-serving position, so he lied. Bud is looking a bit up, the Republican candidate over Sherry Beasley in North Carolina. So the New York Times needle, people hate that sucky needle, but it's saying that Bud is now favored at the moment. There's probably less than 1 million votes left to count in North Carolina. Whoa, I want to keep following Blank Slate. Oh, and Rep. Spamberger has won her re-election campaign, which was great because the Republicans managed to redistrict it so it became more red, more Republican. That's in Virginia District 7. Hooray. And it's a testament, yes, to her strength as a candidate and her clarity about supporting women's reproductive rights. Nothing new from Blank Slate. Let's have a look at Tom Bonnier. There was some talk of young people turning out relatively late this evening to vote. But yes, it is both inspiring and infuriating to see long lines of young people waiting to vote because it's testament to their enthusiasm, but it's also significant evidence of voter suppression, that people have made it difficult for students to vote on purpose. So for all those students you can see waiting in lines, that means that other students who wanted to vote but couldn't spare hours out of their life, who had things to do that were pressing, maybe commitments they couldn't get out of, or who just couldn't pass the obstacles put in their way by Republican voters who know that young voters are more likely to break for Democrats than Republicans, and so hope to improve the likelihood of a Republican win by making students jump through hoops and saying, oh, sure, you have to apply for an absentee ballot, and then giving them an absentee ballot only on the day of the election and saying, well, it's too late to post it now. You won't be received in time. There were reports on social media of that happening to students who were interested in voting. So yes, I welcomed the views of the long lines just because I wanted to see that young people were committed to voting, but it was also evidence of the bar being raised, obstacles being put in the path of young people. All right, Warnock might be doing all right, but it's going to be close. The big question apparently is going to be Metro Atlanta turnout. Feel like they should turn out. Will they turn out? Maybe we will click. And we're never forgetting there's going to be a red mirage because of stronger early voting from Democrats, and then a relatively large Republican presence in contrast that have saved all of their voting energy for in-person on the day voting, which they were encouraged to do by Republican candidates because Trump and his allies know the power of using that false narrative of a stolen election when there's a big red presence of in-person counting that gets talked about in the media. And then as the early votes get counted, the mail-in votes get counted, that lead begins to shrink and maybe surpassed. And then Republicans go stolen election. And Trump has previously abused his ability to spin that narrative, to spin violence, to spin a skein of violence. I don't know how to pronounce skein, like a skein of wool, a skein of wool. I'm not a weaver or a spinner, so I don't know how to pronounce it. Oh, I haven't looked to see if there's any comments. No comments for a little while. That's all right. And oh, by the way, I can't see any commentary on Twitter. If people are on Twitter, can't see it. All right, let's go latest. Herschel Walker. We don't know yet. But yes, Herschel Walker is a Black man who allows racists to whitewash their devotion to white supremacy, because Herschel Walker panders to white supremacy viewpoints. Ew, Herschel Walker's lead is increasing. 49.7%. Too close to call. Incumbent Raphael Warnock, 48.3%. So it could go to a runoff. All right. Yes, at least the Trump-backed governor candidate in Massachusetts lost, although he's still not conceding. Texas and Florida, yes, have successfully re-elected all of the worst people back to Congress. Thanks, Florida and Texas. We don't like it. Arkansas has Sarah Huckabee Sanders as governor. She's going to be atrocious. American politics is so much about coming to terms with awful people being awful, and deluded people being deluded, and white people, too many white people, being disappointing. I hope they keep counting those votes. But the thing is, it's different to polls. It's not, you can't console yourself by saying, oh, well, they're not reaching the people who don't answer landlines. They're counting votes. They're counting votes. I presume Boebert won re-election. Was she even up? She wasn't up for re-election. Oh, Lauren Boebert's in trouble? Lauren Boebert continues to be down in votes now with more than 70% of the vote in. Well, that's awesome. And that also at least can make people feel better about spending so much money supporting Marcus Flowers against running against Marjorie Taylor Greene in Georgia, because people were like, yeah, well, that was obviously unwinnable, blah, blah, blah. Marjorie Taylor Greene, heavy Republican district. If Lauren Boebert gets ousted with more than 70% of the voters now in, that's awesome, even if it's even close. You learn to be grateful for small mercies. Adam Frisch, the Democratic candidate, is beating Lauren Boebert by 5%. Oh my gosh, that would be so exciting. He's taken the lead. Oh, I would love him. Lauren said, they called you cockroaches, they called you cult members, they called you extremists, they called you terrorists. Today we call them losers. Oh, I'd be so pleased if she won. I always discourage people from calling Trump supporters or Trumpublicans cockroaches, because it is dehumanizing. But calling them cult members, accurate. They called themselves domestic terrorists at a conservative convention. What is it? CPAC. They flashed. There was a message written: "We are domestic. We are all domestic terrorists." And yes, extremists, radicalized people. That all is a fair accusations to make of Republicans who have wound back or overseen the winding back of 50 years of precedent. Very exciting. Looks as if young voters are turning out in greater numbers than expected. Another good augury for Dems. Doesn't point to holding off our capture of House, but beats history. And how great would it be for Boebert to go down? Boebert losing would make it easier to stomach Beto's loss. Yes, Beto's loss is hard. It's hard because a lot of children were killed. A lot of children were flat out murdered by not only a gunman, but a contributing factor was Greg Abbott saying, making it legal for 18-year-olds to buy semi-automatic weapons. He loosened the laws that made weapons of mass death more available, and so many innocent children were just slaughtered in their own classroom. And yes, they They bled out. They bled to death waiting for police officers to enter their classroom whilst a gunman held them hostage. And yet the voters of Uvalde, in a majority sense, continued to vote for Abbott, who helped make that shooting possible. It's upsetting, and you've got to learn to roll with the punches. Has Zeldin conceded yet? Probably not. It's official, Lee Zeldin will need to stage at least 3 more crimes this evening to pull this out. Let's check on the latest. Yeah, religious Jews voting for Zeldin. Well, religious Jews in New York were more likely to vote for Trump than Biden. Florida was a refuge of sanity when the world went mad. It wasn't. The world didn't go mad. Florida was home to public health disinformation and still is. The Ron DeSantis appointed Surgeon General is pushing disinformation that endangers people on the internet. Republican women in the villages in Florida vote knowing that if their daughters get pregnant, they can just get an abortion in New York. Yeah, well, if we hold off Republicans capturing the Senate as well as potentially the House, because then they can pass their 15-week national abortion ban that would also impact Florida women. Yeah, that's not a Zeldin wave. That's Staten Island. No wonder Pete Davidson is so rude about Staten Island. It is really, really conservative. There is, quite frankly, not a lot of cheering at the Zeldin watch party. Awesome. Ruben Diaz has retreated to the back of the room. Curtis Sliwa is taking selfies. The playlist keeps going, but there are some long faces seeing the results. She leads Lee Zeldin 58.6 to 40.5 in New York's gubernatorial race, with over 55% of precincts reporting, according to the New York State Board of Elections. Nice. Blah, blah, complaining about rigs. Trafalgar had Zeldin winning against Hochul. At the moment, Hochul is smoking Zeldin like a ham. New York is going to shit, complains Ms. Patriot 1972. People all over Twitter have been saying they're tired of it and voting red, so what's up? Lady, you exist in a bubble. And people complaining on Twitter is not a poll of any type of accuracy. All right. I think I'm just about done talking for the evening. Oh, except for check out this awesome meme that notes that the Democratic Party agenda is infrastructure investment, fighting the pandemic, healthcare access for all and affordable prescription drugs, parental leave and affordable childcare, fair minimum wage, billionaires being compelled to pay taxes, clean water and air standards, and voting rights. Whereas the Republican Party agenda is crooked Hillary, Hunter Biden's laptop, culture war on cartoon characters, ban gay people and trans people. Well, that's an exaggeration, but still, ban critical race theory, that's true. More tax cuts for billionaires, absolutely, that's their agenda. And conspiracy theory du jour. How awesome would it be to speak French for this broadcast? Oh, noting also that Ron DeSantis redrew some districts, i.e. gerrymandered them, which involves manipulating the boundaries of an electoral constituency so as to favor a political party or class and to achieve a result by manipulating those boundaries. So a total freedom to gerrymander the results they want means a political party being involved with delineating the boundaries of a voting district to condense all of the Democratic voters in one area. So if they're aware that there are some Black dominant demographics, they draw a line just around them to contain them so that they can't form an alliance with white Democratic voters. It's just shunt everybody of one demographic and one voting propensity in one area. So for people who don't take an interest in it, I guess they don't understand how it's not a practice that Democrats never engage in, but to just passively sit back and condemn this legal but unethical thing that Republicans do a lot would be to just not do anything to defend yourself from a bully. So although I condemn the practice, I won't say Democrats are entirely guiltless of ever engaging in it. I'm sure I know they have also drawn districts in a way to favor their own party in an effort to staunch the electoral bleeding from this practice that Republicans frequently engage in and do on purpose because they seek out demographic information about where Black people live and then draw lines using that information. Bettors are slowly realizing they were overconfident with regards to a red wave. So that's see that bet on a red wave is going down and bets on Democratic wins are going up. It's been clear for some time, notes Matthew Gaetz, and he's not the bad Matthew Gaetz, the Republican congressman who is being investigated for child sex trafficking. He's a political commentator. He notes it's been clear for some time that the GOP's plan B was to delegitimize the vote in any swing races they lost. Because here's this dude called Michael Knowles. He's not fringe. Apparently he co-hosted Ted Cruz's podcast. This notion that the GOP can't lose a fair election in a swing state is completely mainstream rhetoric for conservative pundits. So he's saying, as I've said for weeks, Oz and Masters are going to have a difficult time winning. They've both done a great job persuading the voters, but in Pennsylvania and Arizona, it's more important to persuade the people who count the votes, i.e., once again, denigrating the selfless, civic-minded people who work the jobs of electoral staff, of polling officers, vote counters, etc., saying that, oh yeah, they can just choose to somehow magically miscount all the votes for Republicans. It's a lie. It's part of Trump's big lie. Fascists normalize lying to people. They normalize the content of the lie and they normalize the practice of lying. And they normalize what some people call the power lie, a lie that is so outlandish that even the people who repeat it don't really believe it. They just enjoy shocking the people who hear it. As in, like a bully who takes your hat and is wearing it and says to you, I don't have your hat. You must be crazy. They are enjoying overturning reality in front of you. They are enjoying lying to your face as they wear your hat and accuse you of making up the fact that you took their hat from them when they saw you take their hat and put it on your head. So it's the audacity of the lie that is meant to disconcert and weaken and demoralize you. And it's very standard, common practice amongst Republicans now to profess a sincere belief in a lie that is so outlandish. It disconcerts you. It consumes up some of your emotional bandwidth, worrying about, can they really believe that? How can I compute that a human being could believe in such an outlandish lie? A lie that is such a significant departure from verifiable reality. They are trying to eat up your emotional bandwidth and leave you discomforted and consequently weakened. And we're going to hear more about this nonsense from them. The judge denying a Republican effort to get a 3-hour emergency extension of voting hours complaining that there were voting tabulator issues. And Mark Kelly's campaign have been saying that the complaint is nonsense and that voting centres have been open and operational all day with very limited issues. Maricopa officials said that they literally don't have the capacity to even tell the 223 voting centres before they shut down in 20 minutes. So this was a last-minute emergency hearing in a court. There was 20 minutes left until the polling centre shut down, and Republicans were asking a judge, give us an emergency extension of voting hours. And the Maricopa officials say that extension of hours would be a recipe for fraud, would require taking voters' word for it that they had issues voting earlier in the day. Oh, because your vote is not, they might get to vote twice then. That if they don't have any physical proof that the machine tabulators weren't working properly, if they didn't draw an official's attention to it, if there's no record of there being a problem, then they can just say, oh, I experienced problems before, I'd like to vote again. Yep. The Kelly campaign is invoking the Lachey doctrine to say Republicans waited too long to demand extension of polling hours. The RNC has anecdotal evidence, or at least voters prepared to say, that voters affected by tabulator areas were told to travel to another location, and they traveled up to that other location and then were told that they had already voted. And they say these errors can determine the outcome of the governor's race and the Senate race. But the judge is not buying their argument. The 223 vote centres in Maricopa were open all day. There's no evidence that any voter was denied the right to vote, he says. For good measure, the judge says the doctrine of Lachey applies. There's no way to do anything legally at this point, even if he agreed with the RNC, but he didn't. And the judge then denies the Republican effort to extend voting hours in Maricopa County, saying there's no evidence any voters were denied the ability to vote due to tabulator issues in some counties. Nice. Maybe we should go to bed now. We'll find out more election results in the morning. Oh, that would be nice to see if there's definitely going to be a runoff for Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock, because Raphael Warnock is awful. Not Raphael Warnock. Sorry, Raphael Warnock is not awful. Herschel Walker, I'm tired and I should go to bed. Yeah. White people who aren't taken over by white supremacy bullshit are really surprised by the nonsensical beliefs that white people will claim to endorse, the mental gymnastics that you have to adopt to go, yes, hooray for this candidate who's lied about paying for abortions, but also insists that nobody else ever have an abortion. When there's evidence of him writing a check to pay for his ex-girlfriend's abortion and asking another woman to have an abortion, but he's still enough of a compliant Black Republican candidate for Republicans to get really excited about the opportunity to launder their racism through a Black candidate who endorses all of their nonsensical talking points, that racism is no longer an issue, that Democrats are demonic and need to be opposed. Oh my God. Warnock. Herschel Walker's still leading. Oh my gosh. There can't be probably not that many votes. Yes, Elon Musk said to go out and vote for Republicans to restore the balance of power in government. Do you agree with him? No, Elon Musk is a fascist. Republicans in office are going to sabotage funding for Ukraine. Oh my God, I'd forgotten even about Ukraine. Because it's not just a stalemate in the government. This is So this is upsetting. This is like, what are they going to do? Because Russia's going to, at least Russia's probably tried to equip its troops with as much as it can already. But Russia will really be celebrating to think that if Democrats lose the House, that Republicans can then stalemate funding for Ukraine, and that Ukrainian men, women, and children will die, and that Russia can redouble its attacks and hope to defeat Ukraine, and then won't stop there. They'll go on and attack other neighboring countries. Oh man, it irritates me because I could have done more. Elon Musk telling people to vote Republican. Thanks, Elon. You sad sack of grift. Well, I guess I hope I'll wake up in the morning and there's a runoff election for Raphael Warnock versus Herschel Walker. And what else can I hope for? A Fetterman victory. Oh, so DeKalb County is at 68%, Gwinnett at 54%, Cobb at 76%. When these come in, Warnock will overtake him. All right. If Gwinnett County is half in at 11 o'clock, Herschel Walker is going to lose. All right, that'd be nice. That'd be a little bit cheerful because it's an emotional roller coaster following American politics. Honestly, the number of people. Dems look on track to make a +1 net gain out of Ohio for the House. What does that mean? He's talking about Ohio 1, where Greg Landsman is on the verge of flipping the seat. They've already called the race for Marcy Kaptur, who defeated the dude who lied about being deployed in Afghanistan. Why is Rick Caruso trending? Did he win? Did he lose? Let's find out. Latest. We don't know. We don't know. Rick Caruso spent $100 million of his own money for this mayoral election. For mayor. That's a lot. Chris Pratt backs him. Yep. Now LA would have a homeless problem. And he has a long history of being anti-abortion. Rick Caruso deprived his deaf daughter of sign language. Yikes. I don't like that. I don't like that. MSNBC is projecting that Vance wins Ohio. So many close elections this evening. Unless Beto brings it in the late vote count, he looks to be badly underperforming both Biden and his own 2018 performance. Somebody writes, I don't understand how after Uvalde and the power grid and all the other Abbott stuff that Texas keeps voting for that person. Yeah. But lots of blue votes still uncounted. It'd be nice if the margins at least go smaller. All right. Is Scott Perry in trouble? That'd be nice. Gonzalez is ahead of Flores. Oh, I remember. That's like Maya Flores in Texas 34. 53 to 44. This would be a pickup for the Dems. We need pickups. We need pickups for the House so we don't lose the House. Lauren Boebert is behind by 4 points. 10,000 votes with 71% counted. Touch and go. All right. So haven't seen any updates about Kari Lake. Let's look Kari Lake. What Trump is doing on Truth Social and what Kari Lake is doing in person at nearly every stop is sowing doubt in the system and the process in order to confuse and alarm people. It's false. We need to continue calling it out. There's so much lying that has to be called out. All right. Oh, let's see. This is a video that Charlie Kirk posted saying that the Maricopa County telling Election Day voters that the machines are broken. Let's have a listen. Why has it got 4 million views? Because Charlie Kirk spreading propaganda. All right.
Of course, I know everybody wants to make sure that it reads and everything is fine.
Can you repeat that?
I can promise
Can you start from the beginning and repeat that?
So what happens is we have two tabulators. One of the tabulators is not working, okay? The other tabulator is taking about 75% successful. So 25% of them are being misread, and it could be a printer issue, or it could be the tabulator itself. So when it's misread, you have an option to put it into what's called box 3, and it gets read, whether it goes downtown and gets read manually, or whether it gets refed into our tabulator.
You don't want to adjudicate.
They get read,
No.
okay? So no one's trying to deceive anybody.
Of course not. Not on election day. That would never happen, right? No, that would never happen.
So choices are, you guys. Sure.
If I get up there and that happens to my ballot, can I take my ballot with me and go somewhere else?
You do not leave the premises with a ballot. Sorry, and there's not like
Because I don't trust you going to box to box.
No, no way.
All the time.
The choices.
I'll come back.
The choice is to wait until.
Okay. So one tabulator was not working and the other tabulator was working at 75%. And if it didn't read your vote properly, you had the option to put it in a box. Yeah, I can see why the judge said, no, you can't have extra time. But yes, also the chair of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors is a Republican. All right, we watched the 4.1 million view thing. Oh, Craig's there. Hey, Craig. I'm going to go. I've reached the end of my useful contribution time because I'm super duper tired. Have they called it for Tim Vance yet? Ooh, An Ohio man has been charged for gunning down his 43-year-old neighbor who was mowing his lawn. The victim's wife told the 911 dispatcher that the angry neighbor had confronted her husband 4 times because he thought he was a Democrat. And that sounds like they've maybe called it for Ohio. Majelski lost. Yeah, Republican Majelski lost. So MSNBC called it for Vance. Projected winner, which is likely to hold. How's Bobit doing? Latest.
Lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job because you are detaining me
for nothing.
You about to lose your job. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job. Oh my goodness. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job because you are detaining me. For nothing. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job because you are detaining me. For nothing. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job. You about to lose your job. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job. Oh my goodness. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job. Cause you are detaining me for nothing. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose.
Well, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. That was a good refresher. Well, people getting excited, hoping that Lauren Boebert loses her job, but she may not. But she may. Seems unlikely, but it's unlikely that Adam Frisch was leading, and he's leading. It'll be Boebert Jr.'s back. I don't know Julia Letlau, but at least it's re-election, so it's not flipping something. Louisiana's 5th congressional district. An 8-term US Rep Doug Lamborn beat out Democratic challenger David Torres. Runoff in Georgia. Maybe Fetterman pulls it off. Let's check what's the latest with Fetterman. Stacey Abrams lost. Well, yes. Fetterman's beating Biden's margins. The remaining votes are going to be mail-in and in big cities. It'll be closer than it should be. But Fetterman should still win. Yeah, we hope so. Is he still ahead? All right. Cheerio, Craig. You can watch the replay if you're not already back and watching. But thanks to anybody who tuned in. I hope you enjoyed an election watch party with me. This is the first election that I've been in the United States for. That's exciting for me. Previously, I've been outside of the United States, but still very emotionally invested, wanting democracy to prevail, wanting there to be guardrails against fascism, wanting decent people to be in enough of a coalition with each other to exert themselves enough to vote in decent candidates and not for lying, radicalized extremists who contribute to the great untethering from reality and from truth. Because all of those candidates that have a high profile, Carrie Lake, using every campaign stop to tell lies about the integrity of the elections, those people are all contributing to bad outcomes. And it's like watching something Freud described as Thanatos, a death wish. It's like watching a death wish overtake people. And it's no fun to watch, but at the same time, it's invigorating on the days when you remember that everybody can play a part in combating disinformation. Everybody can have conversations in which they share knowledge with conviction. Because if you look at CEOs, a lot of people like Elon Musk are not highly competent people. They are people who are able to communicate a high degree of confidence. And once you see how critical a role confidence plays in success in the business world, confidence and the ability to ingratiate yourselves with the kind of people who give out loans. So being white and from a wealthy background can really put you ahead of the pack in that respect. And that contributes significantly to inequality, and particularly racial inequality in an income sense. If Black people don't have ready access to capital, if they can't as easily get loans from institutions, from banks, from credit unions, etc., because people, whether they know it or not, are often programmed to look at somebody like Elon Musk and project onto him a competence, a reputation for competence that the man does not deserve. That's all from me for this evening. Let's hope that when we wake up in the morning, some of the late counted votes have helped tip close election results in the Dems' favor. We can hope for maybe a runoff election between Warnock and Walker if the margin stays close. Yeah. And we'll celebrate the wins we do have. There's some wins. And certainly the red wave that a lot of mainstream media pundits were talking about didn't materialize in a dramatic fashion. What were some people saying? That it might be a red ripple rather than a red wave. And I think you can say that, and that Dems have held their ground in some substantial areas. So we'll see in the morning who retains a majority in the Senate and who retains a majority, or who gains a majority in the House. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
That's looking pretty good.